The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the money.
Deep from the bowels of the Macabre Theater Laboratory, we bring you Macabre Cast. There is nothing wrong with your streaming service. You are exactly where you should be, where the slush puppy machine is always on and cold. Your favorite horror mag is on the rack, discreetly displayed between Women's Wear Daily and Cosmopolitan. I'm your host, Dark Mark, along with my mold-riddled counterpart, Karis, the Little Mummy, here to bring you the latest episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping ours where they belong and adding them where they don't. Newbies welcome, regulars welcome back, and worsifers, get out of here. This is a safe space for those who believe sharks are eating machines, Rocky can save us from the Cold War, and nuking LV-426 from orbit is the only way to be sure. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow this show from Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and on that occasion that I'm not violating community standards, TikTok. Tell a friend to do the same, even that guy whose soft and delicate feelings have the potential of being bruised. Yeah, that guy, I guess. If you wish to interact with fellow Monster Kids or the Drac Pack Elite, follow the Facebook page, Macabre Theater. It's there where you can send me a voice message through Messenger and participate in the show. A link can be found in the description of this episode. Macabre Cast in all its gory glory begins now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Adoro il cast macabre.
Okay, so what takes me out of a horror film? It's when the writer, in order to pay homage to, say, another horror star or another film, will have a character say something along the lines of, okay, meet me at the Karloff Cafe or the Lugosi Lounge. Even worse, in a meta film like Scream, where horror icons are in the collective consciousness of the characters, but still said character gets it wrong, like, you know, that horror director, Wes Carpenter. Please, just stop. There are ways to pay homage that doesn't have to take a person right out of the film.
You're taking me right out of the show.
I'd love to take you right out of the show. Yes. Any day.
Really? And who's going to tell the jokes? Let's move on, shall we? So, what do you call a dog with no legs?
Oh, that's nice. I don't know, Karis. What would I call a dog with no legs?
Well, Dark, it really doesn't matter what you call him. He won't come anyway.
And on that note, it's time for horror news. Evil Dead Burn releases to theaters July 24th, 2026, and attendees at CinemaCon who were shown a preview are stating that it looks like the most violent Evil Dead to date. Well, we'll see. Osgood Perkins and Nicolas Cage are reteaming for Longlegs 2. James Wan is working on getting Call of the Cthulhu started. The 2017 Argentine film Terrified is getting an American remake. Psycho Killer has been released to digital as of April 7th. And that's it for horror news. And Draven agrees. Draven the blood-vomiting bat. Children of the night, what messes they make. So we've all been there before. You're in a darkened movie theater where you're completely engrossed in the film. And then something out of whack happens, or maybe something that defies basic common knowledge somehow escapes the character's grasp. I mean, Scream, they set its stage in a world much like our own, where a killer is stalking people who have the common knowledge of slasher films, which was a fresh idea. It was a fresh change. But then they'd ruin it with dialogue like I quoted earlier, where horror whiz kids can't even distinguish between John Carpenter from Wes Craven. It's wrong for me to say that it ruins the film, because I'm kind of over it 5 minutes later. But I still wish it wasn't there. It really doesn't ruin the film.
Horror chap Matt knows all about monsters. He said they were coming to get me tonight.
Hey, Doc Mark, Little Cars, and all the monster kids hanging out the theater this week. It's Horror Chap Matt, finally pulling himself completely out of the bowels of hell after my abysmal performance during The Shining Place. And I'm here to weigh in on this week's topic of what does a horror movie character say or do that takes me immediately out of said movie. And Dark, unlike you, when a character mentions or name drops a character, director, or setting from another franchise, I always get a chuckle out of that one. That doesn't really bother me. But I'll tell you what does bother me, and that is when a filmmaker tries to pawn off the fact that in their world that they're creating, there has never been a vampire or zombie before, and they are dealing with these creatures for the very first time. I just cannot wrap my head around the fact that there is supposedly a world in which the book Dracula or vampires have never existed before. I'm not talking about in real life. I'm talking about in book or movie or TV or pulp culture. And the same thing goes for zombies. There's never been a Night of the Living Dead. I don't know. To me, it just seems like an insult to the creators of those two beloved franchises. And it will take me out of it every single time. Like, hey, I don't know what this thing is. It sucks your blood, and next day you wake up and you want to suck blood. Now, that idea sucks. Sorry. Okay, and before I go off on too much of a rant on that, I'm going to just give you a couple of quick reviews of a couple of movies I took in this past weekend. The first one was Netflix's new Thrash movie. If you have an hour and 20 minutes you want to waste, I'm sure you can find better things to do with your time. But if you want to watch bad CGI sharks attack a town that's been flooded, more power to you. I'm going to give this thing a 5 out of 10. Like, if you have nothing else to do and you've watched everything else on your list, I guess watch this thing. For me, we've seen this type of story one time too many. Going back originally to the first one I can think of is 2012's Bait from Australia, where basically the same thing. There's a tsunami. People are trapped in a grocery store in an underground parking garage. That one is a little bit better than this. And then you have those terrible, goofy Sharknado movies from 2013. I've seen a couple of them. They're not my cup of tea. If you like them, good for you. Definitely not for me. And just recently, if you want to see this story done well, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see it with sharks, but with alligators. I highly recommend you forget about all those other movies and check out 2019's Crawl. Great story, actually scary, and definitely worth the watch. My next flick that I checked out was called Psycho Killer. This one started off pretty good, but unfortunately in the last act, they really went for it and probably got a little too ambitious for their own good. The story is about a state trooper that is trying to hunt down her husband's killer, who happens to also be a serial killer. Along the way, we're introduced to some wacky underground Satanists led by the one and only Malcolm McDonald. And this is where this flick starts to fall apart for me. After impressing me with the movie's on-location shots and realistic effects, all of a sudden we are treated to some terrible, bad CGI blood, which always takes me out of a movie. And the killer's overall plan is revealed to involve 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant in Maryland. The Psycho Killer actually has a pretty cool look. And it looks like they want this thing to turn into a franchise. And to be honest, I'd probably check out a sequel. I liked enough of what they were trying to do here to watch a sequel. So I'm going to give this thing a 6.5 out of 10. The first half of the movie I really enjoyed. Like I said, the second half kind of went off the rails and just, I don't know, it was maybe a little bit too much. But overall, it's worth a watch. And that's what I checked out this past weekend. Can't wait to listen to this week's show. And as always, make mine Macabrecast.
Yeah, it's a little weird in movies, particularly like a vampire movie where there's no Book of Dracula, there's no lore that people are familiar with. My only guess is the reason why writers do that sometimes is to give the characters more of a disadvantage. But sometimes it just kind of makes it more unbelievable that they would not know what such thing is. Even if they just referenced it would be good enough. They don't have to go into detail. Just reference the acknowledgement of knowing what a vampire is, etc., zombie, whatever it may be. But yeah, and CGI blood, forget it. Practical effects all the way. They used to have to build things and figure it out how they were going to do it or go about it a different way as opposed to relying on CGI so much, which is lousy. Psycho Killer does look good. Is that gone from theaters already? Where did you happen to see it? Did you stream it, and where did you stream it? Because I'm curious. Thrash I was a little excited for, now not so much. Maybe I'll pass on that because I never just have time to kill. Watch a movie time to kill. In my house, everyone gets a turn. So when it's your turn, you want to make sure you're going to pick something that's great, that's awesome, or that you think is anyway. You pick a movie like that, it's like throwing your turn in the toilet. And I never want to do that. So I will stay away from Thrash. Always great to hear from you, Horror Chat Matt, and we hope to hear from you again now that you're out of the bowels of hell real soon.
You are listening to Dark Marks Macabrecast, episode 153, Nonsense that mentally takes you out of a horror film.
Do you want to participate in Dark Marks Macabrecast? But you don't want to send a voice message? Maybe you don't like the sound of your own voice, or you're shy. Send Dark an email. He can read your thoughts on the show. Your opinion matters. Send Dark an email at macabretheater666@gmail.com.
A link can be found in the description of this episode. No, really, it can.
Laura Horror would be the first to tell you I have no interest in watching Christmas films after December 26th. So imagine her irritation at my wanting to see the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night in April. Scouring looks, to say the least. But what option did I have? They didn't release this to Blu-ray till March. So let's get to the sauce and cheese, shall we? As most of you know, the original Silent Night, Deadly Night is one of my favorite Christmas horror films. The controversy surrounding it on its initial release, it just can't be duplicated. This version, directed by Mike Nelson, is decent. It looks good, it's gory, but it falls flat on making our Santa Claus killer too much of a hero. Yes, Billy of the original was all about punishing the wicked, but never really comes across as the good guy. He witnessed his father killed and his mother assaulted and then killed by a man dressed as Santa Claus. He went off to a nun-run orphanage and was abused. All this created the axe-wielding Santa we've revisited Christmas after Christmas. Some of that backstory remains here, but it doesn't seem to have the punch the original had. When the killer Santa takes out a whole Nazi party living it up at a rally, well, who can't get behind that? Rowan Campbell, who played the controversial Corey of Halloween Ends, dons the Santa suit as Billy. It's not a terrible reimaging, but I will always pick the original over this. As far as reboots go, this wasn't the first go-round to reboot Silent Night, Deadly Night. In 2012, Stephen Miller gave us an extremely violent version called simply Silent Night. And if I'm to be honest, I liked that reboot far better than this one. I give the 2025 reimaging of Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 3/4 stars out of 5. I would never say skip it, but see it at your leisure. This just in, it appears the Annabelle doll, made famous by featuring its story in the Conjuring franchise, will not be coming to Salem, Mass, as was originally believed.
Is this something you could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Greetings, Dark Mark and Karis the Little Mummy. Scary Larry here, extra large and in charge. Hey Karis, do you celebrate Father's Day or Mummy's Day? So I was thinking about Dark's final thoughts on episode 152. Are modern horror movies even scary anymore? I had a couple thoughts on this. First, Hollywood has gotten very stale lately. Maybe 5% of new horror is what we would call good, let alone scary. Between remakes, chasing the same themes to death, pun intended, and beating sequels to a pulp, is rare something fresh comes along. Also, I was quipping with Dark about it. We've become rather desensitized as a society. Think about the movies we grew up with. We had word of mouth on how gory or scary movies were, and we'd trudge out to find it at the local video store. If they made it to TV, not premium, but regular cable, the movies were heavily edited and sanitized. The UK had their video nasties, movies dubbed so disturbing it was illegal to distribute certain titles. Now fast forward to the early 2000s. Moving forward, I have seen more graphic horror FX on primetime shows like CSI or Criminal Minds than most horror being pushed out. Scenes that would be rated R and heavily restricted in the 80s was just a ho-hum episode of the latest drama. New movies have to strike a balance between the shock factor and having a decent storyline too. And I feel a good example of that is the Terrifier series. It's difficult to top the scare factor when it's now the norm on some primetime shows. So I finally got a chance to see Wrong Turn. It wasn't on my radar when it came out, for whatever reason. And when I did take an interest in seeing it a couple years back, I couldn't find it, even to rent. I wasn't going to buy it. Well, funny, my sister recommended a movie, and through miscommunication, I got the wrong title. While not being able to find the one I wanted, I saw Wrong Turn is now available with Prime. So I sat down and watched it. The final girl in this is Eliza Dushku. And side note, she went to school for a time in Waltham with my cousin. Small world. Anywho, it's an overdone, trapped in the woods against some hillbilly cannibal whatever. Some good gore, but a tired old plot line. I saw hints of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Hills Have Eyes. No spoilers, but I could take or leave this one. All right.
I've never seen Wrong Turn. And you know what's scary? Now I know not to. Look, I feel bad for kids growing up now. I wouldn't trade the way some things were for all the money in the world. Let me elaborate. Come with me. Journey with me now. Travel back. It's 1979, I'm 10 years old, and most of us at this point had read the book Amityville Horror. You know, the book that states it was a true story, and we believed every bit of it. The film was released and scared every one of us. This was an age and a time of most things being black and white. They said that house was haunted, and we believed it was. Today, everything seems to have an alternate story. We're constantly told this and that isn't true, and this is fake, and the real story is this. That bit of true imagination is so needed today. I liked receiving everything at face value. It seems today's kids are constantly told they've been duped. Let them believe, even if only for a little while.
You are listening to Dark Marks Macabrecast, episode 153, Nonsense that mentally takes you out of a horror film.
And now it's time for real world horror. And now here's your host, Dark Mark.
On October 14th, 1987, 18-month-old Jessica McClure, who would soon be known to the world as Baby Jessica, fell 28 feet down into an abandoned 8-inch wide well in Midland, Texas. Rescue workers worked tirelessly for 58 hours, drilling a parallel shaft until finally rescuing her on October 16th. This captured worldwide attention and symbolized a real-life miracle. On April 14th of 2026, deputies responded to the residence of baby Jessica, who is now 40 years of age. She was arrested at the scene for causing bodily injury to a family member and was charged with domestic disturbance.
Tune in next time to Real World Horror with Dark Mark. And now, the new night desk attendant at the Bates Motel, Laura Horror.
Hey, Monster Kids. Laura Horror here. I've missed calling in. Sorry, I haven't called in for a while. What takes me out of a horror movie? Well, if I'm really engrossed and just want to see some good old-fashioned horror, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a needlessly over-the-top sexual thing going on, especially if I'm watching with my son. Like in Don't Torture a Duckling, when all of a sudden this naked lady is sitting there seducing a young boy, that it takes me not only right out of it, it makes me turn it right off. I'm all done. The other things that kind of take me out of a horror movie is if all of a sudden there's way over the top put in specifically just for the gross out effect and how bad can we make this look. Torture of people and eyeball popping outs and all this other stuff. For me, I just like a good old-fashioned scary slasher horror movie, mystery, whodunit, old-fashioned, new, whatever, but the over-the-top things make me go right away from it. All right, well, good to talk to everybody and talk to you later. Bye.
Everyone knows I'm a huge fan of Lucio Fulci and talk about him quite often. But I will say that if he's not a dirty old man, he does a good job at playing one on TV. And what I mean is, top Italian splatter films for me will always be Zombie and City of the Living Dead. And some of his later films do come across as dirty old man movies. Don't Torture a Duckling not going to lie. I mean, the kid she's trying to seduce looks all of 12. So he makes some strange choices sometimes, and definitely not all his movies are for everyone, not even me. Now, you know how much I love torture movies, and especially Hostel. I think the first 2 Hostel movies are fantastic. Yes, they're very gory, but you know me, I love the gore. And again, torture films are not for everyone. I hate the term torture porn, and poor Eli Roth has that tagged to him forever, I think.
Who doesn't like a good eye gouge? Or pop out, for that matter.
Always great hearing from you, Laura Horror. We hope to hear from you again soon.
The following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language and violence. It is intended only for mature audience.
Metal Melody.
Ho ho! Strap yourselves in, girls. Melody is the M in TV MLV. And the constant swearing. Can you even stand it? My nerves are crushed.
Hello, Doc Mark, Karis the Little Mummy, and all the Macabrecast fans listening. Checking in for episode 153. So, Mark, regarding your question in episode 152 about Alice, to me, it seemed like she really did have something to take care of in California. She appeared to seem honest when she said that to Steve, but who knows? We'll never know. I just kind of got that feeling like she said it so out there, like it was normal. Like I didn't feel like she was being shady or anything, but who knows? And I'm pretty sure it's Pam I'm thinking of. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'd have to watch them again to be sure. But I really feel like it was Pam. Granted, her kills, yada, yada. I still remember, if I'm remembering correctly, that she just like tripped a lot and, screamed a lot. But anyway, I have not watched any new horror movies this week, and I don't have much to report. A lot of the movies I watched were movies I've already seen a million times. There's nothing really new out that I was interested in watching, and there might have been a few, and I might have watched 20 minutes and was like, yeah, this sucks, and then I just changed the channel. You know what? I'm sorry. I did watch a couple of new movies. Totally forgot. The Mortuary Assistant, I did not care for it. I mean, it was okay, but I don't think it's anything I would recommend, definitely. And Thrash was trash. That's all I have to say, in my opinion. It wasn't the kind of movie I thought it was going to be, and I just didn't care for it entirely. So, and there are the movies I was talking about that would be coming out is Final Destination 7.
6, 7.
I think, Mark, you've talked about this before about the Final Destination 7, but it comes out in June. I'm excited about that. Insidious, The Bleeding World, another one. I'm also a big Insidious fan. The Ice Cream Man you've talked about, that sounds like it might be pretty good. So this is just a few more coming out, I believe, in June that will definitely be on my list. May doesn't look like there's so many, unless I'm missing something. Mark, maybe you have information that I don't have about anything hitting the theaters in May. But I still say you're wrong because I do watch slow burns. But yes, I do like movies that move it along a little better, I do admit. But I have also seen some very good slow burns that even I've recommended to people. So yeah, I guess it all depends. I thought I would have the review of The Mummy on this episode, but I didn't realize at the time that would actually be episode 154 and not 153. I hope everybody is enjoying this weather. It's absolutely beautiful. And, we go from 54 to 84, in a day. So that's New England for you. So anyway, everybody have a fantastic week ahead. And until episode 154, see ya.
New name, Metal Mouthful. Holy moly.
Yes, as you know, Horror Chat Matt was not a big fan of Thrash either. I almost watched that. So I'm glad you both weighed in on that, because that is a bullet to avoid. Same way I avoided that other shark movie that Horror Chat talked about with the plane sinking to the bottom of the ocean. The one that stole my plot that I concocted in high school drawing comics. Anyway, interesting that you think Alice may have not had an ulterior motive to get away from Steve. I also think it's funny that she drew a portrait of Steve in her sketchbook that we never get to see. And he's like, do I really look like that? And she's like, you did last night. And one of two things happened. The sketch either was very flattering to him and made him look even better, or like, imagine if it was this grotesque picture of Steve. That would be riotous. Cut to a shot of deformed looking Steve. Anyway, looking forward to your review of The Mummy. I think that looks really scary and promising. But like I said, I don't get my hopes up about Universal monster reboots. But I will say the ad looks very scary. And I'm looking forward to Faces of Death. Now that I've read a little bit more about it, I don't think it's what we all thought it was going to be. So I'm hoping to check out Faces of Death. Great hearing from you, Metal Melody, and we hope to hear from you again next week. Maybe with your review of The Mummy.
Goditi questo episodio de Cast Macabro.
Thank you, Maria Monstalia, for telling our Italian friends to enjoy this episode of Macabrecast.
Shh, come on now. Everybody pipe down. It's time for the final thought. You know, when a guy who watches monster movies is all of a sudden going to talk like some kind of philosopher.
Some call dreams a nocturnal therapist, helping to organize daily stresses or just stabilize emotions. Whether dreams have any inherent meaning at all is still widely debated even today. Some would even suggest that dreams simply help move short-term memories to long-term storage. Reoccurring dreams frequently highlight unresolved conflicts or anxieties. Freud believed dreams represent repressed desires, and knowing that guy, they probably all tie back to one's mother. Psychopath. But I digress. Imagine, if you will, dreams are the reality, and our daily life is the dream illusion, or for some, the nightmare. There's a spooky thought. Sleep tight, monster kids. Beware the moon. Keep clear of the moors. But most of all, remember, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon, I hope.
This is a Macabre Theater production.
Subscribe us.